Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Great White Northern here, and we are on box number 2 and episode number 2 of the Canada Small Sense book filler series. So we are trying to fill up these two books. This is book number 1, and we have book number 2 in behind, and we are trying to get all of the pennies from 1920 up to 2012. We also have a little surprise for you, so stay tuned, follow along with us, and we'll be right back.
Let's just have a good time, live a good life. What you mean when you say you a new heights? What you mean when you play like all night? Nightlife is a highlight. I'm a fly guy, this is skyline. I don't got the time for my problems. I got the time to dissolve them. Music is my oxygen, I'm breathing, no stopping. You remember my oxygen, the music when it's dropping. Some of these vibes provided in these lines. I'm so designed the rhyme, checking my mind. Music be described, I got ahead of my time. Beat be prescribed, cause I feed it full of lines. Money ain't nothing, you turn it into something. I'm signing for the money, make you look real funny. Put my own name in discussion, I'm a hustler. Real hard to show you that I'm coming, so let me tell you that I'm going.
Alright, so we have both of these books here, which we did pretty well filling these books up in the last episode. We got 80 of the 110 pennies that we are looking for. Now, I have put the older pennies in here. We got some really nice ones. We got all the way back into 1933, which these ones are very difficult to find, these King George V. So we got a 33 and a 35. And then we got some King George VI in here as well, and I put them all the way up to the end of the Young Heads, 1964, and then the rest I've kept out. I do have them all in a roll here, and I will put them in at the end of this if we don't find better ones, but I do believe we should be able to find better. These ones are pretty brown, and I think we can find some nice bright ones, or at least some more nice bright ones, as we are going through this other box. So, I've got this, that's book 1. And then book 2, same thing. I really didn't put them in. They're just kind of sitting in the holes here. These are not bad, but I think we can find better. I definitely have better in my own personal collection. And I think certainly some of the new ones, we can get some pretty brilliant ones. They show up pretty well on camera here, but they're not quite as nice as I'd like them to be. So I'm going to set those aside, and we will start digging through this box. We got a full box here. Now, what I also want to do is I want to show you, so at the end of the last episode, I had a whole bunch of American pennies. So all the wheat pennies we had from 1950 all the way down to 2009, I believe. Very first wheat pennies. And I said I'd go through them looking for any errors, and I did find one. So I want to show this to you so that you guys can see what I found. So let me just get this, not sure what happened here, just kind of scroll down. Okay, so I'm going to pull this up here. So on the left on my microscope is the one that I found. It is a 1947, and there is a DDO on this one. So I don't know if you can see it very well, but if you look right here, there is doubling on the inside of this U. There is doubling along the side of this R here. And there you can actually notice it a little bit on the top of the 7 as well, although it's much fainter. It's a pretty worn example, so it's not the best example of it. But this is the FS101 DDO error. Just looking here, you can kind of see the top of the E there as well. For some reason, it doesn't show up very well on my microscope. It actually shows up better on my loupe. But if we get down here to top of the 7, it's a little thicker. You can't really see it there. Probably the best that you can see on this microscope is actually that doubling on the inside of the U and the side of the R. So I'll show you what it shows on the website for the 1947. And you can see there's that doubling on the U, and then right beside it is the doubling on the side of the R. So it's exactly the same. It's also on the S, but unfortunately the S on this one's pretty worn. Although you can see it just a little bit right there showing up. So yeah, it is definitely that DDO error. In a mint state, that's about a $135 coin according to the PCGS website. And so that's kind of nice to find. Now in that condition, maybe it's a $10, $15 coin, who knows. But it's nice to find it. I didn't have that error, and always nice to find that stuff when you're digging through your change. So, all right, let's get into the hunt. So this is the box. We have a full box here. We've got some old stuff for sure. I could see on the ends here, certainly back into the 60s and 70s in there. And then we do actually have some rolls here look like they have some more modern coins. So that might be nice to try and help fill out our newer coins in the book as well. So, all right, let's get at it. I'm going to grab a roll here in a second and we'll open up the first one and I'll let you know what we found. Roll 1, and I found a 2002 P. It is the magnetic version of it, and it's got the P mint mark on the obverse, and it does improve the one in my book, so I will set that up there and move on. Roll 2, and of course if this ends up like the last box, I'll maybe just start bringing you in at the end of a row or something, but I did find this, so I thought I'd bring you in. It is the 1943 King George VI, so always nice to find the older ones. I don't know if it's going to improve anything in the book, but I'm going to always hang on to those anyway, so I'll set that up here. And then we've just so you can kind of see part of my process, basically what I'm doing is I'm pulling out all of the 2000 to 2010s. I check them all with a magnet, check for the varieties, and then pull everything else out. Afterwards, I have a list of the stuff to look for in the non-magnetic and magnetic versions of those, so I'll check those all at the end, and I just go through and... I'm also, of course, looking for better versions of what we've already got. So that 89 is pretty decent. Might be better than what I have, so I'll toss that up there as well. Roll 6, and this is why it takes me so long to do pennies. Not only there are all these varieties in the Canadian pennies, but of course when there's US pennies mixed in, there's all the varieties in the US. So for those of you that are from America and are hunting US pennies, of course one of the ones you want to look out for is the 1982 varieties. There are many. So you're looking for a large date or a small date. And then you're also looking to figure out whether you've got a zinc or a copper one. So if it's over 3 grams, it's going to be a copper penny. And if it is under 2.5-ish, somewhere around there, it's going to be a zinc penny. And then you're also looking at the 2 in 1982 to figure out whether this is a small date or large date. So this is a large date. You can tell because there is no recurve in the 2. So the small date actually has a curve that comes down like this. So kind of almost like an S shape as it comes back around. And it's actually a thinner date as well. So it's quite obvious when you see it. It is very different from the 2 in the large date. And so that would be a large date zinc. Not particularly valuable or worth much. The large date copper. What you're really looking for is the small date ones, and you really want the small date copper one if you can find it. So, all right, on to the next. Roll 8, and seeing as this box is not like the last one, and the older pennies are a little bit fewer and far between, I will bring you in on these ones. So 1951, that is a King George VI. And yeah, pretty decent shape. So I'll be setting all those aside anyway. I'll check them against what I have to see if they fill a hole. All right, 10 rolls in, and just a little update here to say where we are. So I've got some of the older coins here, so the 60s, some of the 50s that I found, and the 1940 that I found. And then these are the ones I'm setting aside by dates. The top row is 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. That are ones that I believe are going to upgrade what I have in the book. So not a whole lot so far. Nothing too exciting, although the 1940 is always good to get. And let's move on to the next row. Roll 12, and we've got a find here for you guys. So I just was finishing up this roll, and as I said, what I do is I pull all of my 2000 to 2010s, set them aside because those are the ones that have some varieties that are a little bit more expensive. Their 2011, 2012 also have a magnetic and non-magnetic version, but there's about 300. Well, the 2011, I think there's 300 million of each, and I think there's even more of the 2012. So they're not particularly rare, regardless of which one you get. But we are looking for one of the many varieties in the 2006s. So 2006 actually has 6 different varieties. There are actually only 2 in the book. So there's a 2006 and a 2006 P. So I've just left them as is, and I'll find those 2. The 2006 Ps are difficult to find. I've gone through thousands of pennies, and I've only got a couple so far. But this one is the 2006 No P, and wait for it, it's magnetic. So that is a rather, well, not super expensive, but in this kind of condition, which has got a little bit of funky toning on there, but it's in pretty decent shape, and I would certainly call that about uncirculated or fairly close. And if you look at the Coins in Canada website, 2006 magnetic No P, $56 is what they say for about uncirculated 50. So I think that's pretty close. So that's a nice little find. Well, very next roll, and I thought I'd bring you in because I just started flipping these over. The very first one was a 1963 Younghead. Nothing too spectacular, but we have a King George VI right in behind. So let's take a look and see what we've got. I haven't looked at it yet. 1949. It's nice, always nice to find them in the 40s. Stick that up there, and I think there's actually one further back here too. I thought I saw one. Yeah, there it is there. So let's take a look at this one. And get my hand underneath. 1940, so even older. It's the oldest one so far, I think. Yeah, the other one was a 1943 that we found earlier. So I'll stick that up there. There's that 2006. I should probably stick that in flip so it doesn't end up getting tossed back into a jar somewhere, but I'll do that later. Roll 17, and we've got a couple more finds here. So we did just find a 1950 King George VI head, as you can see here. So that's great. Always like to find those. Stick that up there. And then I've got a 1962 Younghead here I pulled out earlier as well. And I actually had put it over here already, but I might as well talk about it since we're looking at the other ones. So we did find a 1979, and so one of the error or varieties you could find for the 1979 is some doubling on the date. So I'm going to try and get that up there so you can see it, and there it is. So there's doubling on the 9, the 7, and the 9. It is on the other ones. Trust me, I get the light to hit it properly here. You should be able to see the doubling along the bottom there. Yeah, so now you can see it along the bottom of the 7 and the bottom of the 9 there. So this is a relatively common variety. It's not particularly rare or worth a whole lot, but it's in decent enough shape that I'll just hang on to that one, stick that one aside as well. Just a little bit further down in that roll, and we have a beautiful 1974. It's in great shape. Now, I just took a quick look, and that is definitely going to upgrade the one in the book. Look at the obverse on that. Beautiful. Set that one aside, up in the 70s here, and it improves. Oh, didn't have a spot for it there. There we go. Same roll, and I just about dumped this in. I was just going through all this. So this is not a particularly rare variety, but it's actually one we didn't have yet for the book. So it is a 2005P. We're missing that one. And it's in great shape, and it has a P mint mark on the back, so, or on the obverse. So, got another keeper. Roll 21, and we've got our first American find. We have a 1955 Whitman Penny. Roll 23, and we've got something here that might fill the book. So that looks like a nice older coin. Let's see what we found here. And it's a 1976 in pretty decent shape. So I think that will be an improvement on the one that I have. So I will set that up with these up here. Roll 28, and hadn't had much to show you, but I thought I would just bring you in for this. I don't know if you can pick it up there. We actually have an overstuffed roll. So we just made probably, what, 3 cents? Maybe 4. Anyway, that's all. We'll see if we've got anything good in this one. Well, that's that overstuffed roll, and as I was dumping it out, I noticed this. We've got a Whitman Penny. What have we got? 1950D. Roll 30, and this is the night for finds. So I just was going through the roll here. I just got to this point, and I found a variety. So it is actually the one we talked about earlier, the 1982 small date. And this is the small date copper. So if I throw this on the scale, it actually measures out at 3.1 grams. So the zinc ones are around 2.5. It's actually one that, it's the last one that I don't have in my book. So I actually pulled out my US penny book. So you can see I've got from 1959 all the way up to the most recent ones. In pretty good shape. I got a pretty nice collection there. And I was only missing that one. And there it is right there. It's 1982 small date. I'm going to put it up on the microscope so you can see what I'm talking about as far as the date. So that other one was much thicker. And the 2 came straight down this way, and there was not nearly as much of a gap in there. So you can see kind of that recurve 2 as it curves back that way. That is the small date version. I wish I had the other one still around that I could show you the difference. But anyway, that's the small date, and that is copper, and it fills a hole in my book. So I need a ta-da sound here. But there we go. Book is finished. Awesome. All right, well, that was a nice find. Let's move on. Roll 25, and I just dumped this one out, and you can see right there, we got another King George VI. It is the 1944. Decent shape. Nice and brown, though. So I didn't notice that one had fallen over, so I guess we're still on roll 35, and I have actually been throwing all these back. I completely forgot that I needed to be looking for the 2011s and 2012s because I don't have any of them other than the non-magnetic 2011. So anyway, I did find this one. It is a magnetic 2011, so you can see that one sticks, and this one doesn't. So we've got those two. Now we just got to find the 2012s. Hopefully I don't have to go digging through my big change bottle there to to figure out where the 2012s are that I've been throwing back. So, well, things dried up a little bit. We're down to 42 rolls in, I guess, and I just found this one. So we got a 1930s Whitman Penny. So that's kind of cool. I know we found a bunch of them in that that last box that I found, but this is more typical of a penny hunt, and so finding one of these is actually quite unique usually. So we'll set that aside with the rest of the wheat cents, and then I do have a few more that I've just been kind of collecting in the 50s. No more 40s or King George VI, but lots of the young heads there. And just slowly upgrading these, so hopefully these will upgrade what I've got set aside. You see I've got kind of the other ones I pulled out earlier over here, so I'm just trying to upgrade those before I put them in the book, because they're a pain to take out of these books. So, all right, 8 more rolls to go after this. I'll let you know when I find something else. Roll 44, and we've got another find here, and it's one that we needed for the book. This is one of the more rare, well, it's the less rare of the magnetic versus non-magnetic varieties. There's a bunch of different varieties, usually where there's a very rare either magnetic or non-magnetic version of the coin, but this is probably the one I find the most, which is the 2009 non-magnetic. So you can see in the book, we actually have a 2009 magnetic. We don't have the 2009 non, and you can see it is not magnetic. So that's good. Another find for the book. And yeah, those are some of the harder ones to get. So awesome. Very next roll, and we have our first foreign find of the hunt. Not counting all the US, of course. But this, I don't think we got any even in the last hunt either for the box before this. But this is a 5 centavos, 1978. And I believe this is Mexico. Mexican peso. So that's awesome. Well, set that up. I don't think I've got one of those. So nice to find. 4 more rolls to go. We're on the 45th roll, and I finally found a 2012. So I'm pretty sure I did find some earlier, and I just threw them back in the bucket, forgetting that I was actually looking for them for the book. So this is the non-magnetic version, so that will fit in one of those 2 slots there. Now all we got to do is find a magnetic one. They're fairly common, so shouldn't be too hard, but so far there haven't been that many. Roll 47, and very last one in the roll. It was actually at the top of the roll. I didn't notice it when I opened it up, but yeah, there is another King George VI, and it's another 1940, so that is the second one we've got. Box is done. So I have gone through the older ones, and there are no varieties in here other than there is a 63 hanging 3, but these are super common. Of all the hanging varieties, the 63s are the ones that seem to have them the most, and it's not unusual at all to find, you know, one in a small stack like that, and probably multiples in a bigger stack. So I did check all the rest as far as shoulder fold, no shoulder fold on the 55, the 53. These are all the common varieties. We did get that doubled 1979 earlier. And actually, I'll come back and I'll do all of the varieties at the end, or some of the finds we had at the end. We'll do a recap. And I'm going to go through and put these all into the book. I will make sure that even the ones that I found earlier, I'll put those in as well. And we'll just run with that. And if I have to take them out because I find something better, then that's what I'll do. So I'll get that all set up so we can see where we're sitting, and I'll give you a recap at the end. All right, I changed my mind. We're going to go through this together, and we'll just put in the ones that we are missing. So we have a 2012, and actually I need my magnet so I can make sure I've got the right thing. So this is a 2012 non-magnetic. And we'll throw that in here. I'll push them in afterwards. We got a 2011 magnetic. Marking it all up now. Throw that in here. We got a 2010. Must also be magnetic. No, maybe it was just a replacement for the other one. So I'll leave that. I'll do those afterwards. 2009. This was a 2009 non-magnetic that I found. So it was one of the a little bit harder ones to find for sure. What else we got? 2005. This is the 2005P. Again, a little bit harder to find. And so that is filling a hole here. Only 30,000 of those that were made. So that's why that one's a little bit more difficult to find. When you look at some of the mintages on some of these others, 645,000, 759,000 for the 2005 regular. What else? We have 2003. This is, oops, sorry. So this is the no P, new effigy. So that's fills that hole there. So we did find lots to fill holes today. 2001, and that's just replacing the one we had there. I think we did have one in there, but it must have fallen out when I moved it around. Anyway, then we had a replacement for it. 2002, this is just a replacement for the one that's in there. It's a little bit nicer. Put those in afterwards. What else we got here? 99 looks like that's a replacement. The 93 is probably also a replacement for the one that's in there. So you can see the 93 is not bad, but this one here is nicer. And then we get into 89. So these are all replacements by the looks of it. So 89, and then the rest is in the other book. So I'll bring the other book around and we'll be back in a sec. All right, I got the earlier book laid out here, and still not happy with all these. I've got some pretty brown ones in the earlies, the 65, 66, that's 68. But the other ones are starting to get a little bit better, and definitely a little brighter, more red. So we'll put these in for now. So these 265s are the large and small beads. So we'll stick those in. There's the large bead. And they're not going to cooperate. So you know what? I'm going to put them all in and then I'll bring you back. Right, so I've popped everything into the book, and so everything on this side is unchanged. I didn't add anything over here. I didn't replace anything over here other than this 65 down at the bottom here. So this is the large bead 65, small bead 65, and we've got pretty much everything in there up to just the pointed 5 that we are missing. So and we're getting some pretty good quality ones. I still think there's some room for improvement on some of these. Certainly some browner ones back here in the 60s. I'd like to replace those. But yeah, we're getting much closer. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 that we are missing off the first book. And the second book is pretty close to being full, I think. There are just a few that we're missing. So from 89, I do need a better version of that 90, but 90 is a little bit lower mintage year, so they're a little bit harder to find. So we are missing that 2004P. I don't believe I've got one even in my other set. Maybe I do. I might have the 2004. The 2006 Ps are elusive. I do not find the P mint mark, whether they're magnetic or non-magnetic, very often at all. And 100,000 pennies later, I might have run into a couple. So that one's going to be difficult. The 2007 should be something we can find. I don't have a 2008 in my set, I know, or 2008 non-magnetic. And so that one's going to be difficult to find. 2010 magnetic should be pretty easy, as should the 2012 magnetic. So we're getting there. Only 4, 5, 6 left in that book. So next hunt, we will try and fill in a few more holes and upgrade a little bit as we go. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this, and I really appreciate you guys coming along. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying these hunts, if you like this type of book filler type of hunt. It does seem to make it a little bit more interesting, and I get to go back and kind of pull out some of the nicer ones that typically just end up going back in a jar. And then, of course, really the stars of this hunt are really this one here, to be honest. This 2006 non-magnetic, sorry, forget which one's which. Sorry, this one's the magnetic, no mint mark. One of the more premium modern 2006 pennies you can be looking for. So definitely watch out for that. They are out there. This one's got some interesting toning on it as well. So that's kind of cool. Got 1937 wheat penny, and we got the doubled 79, and we got Mexican 5 pesos. So that was cool. Got some early 40s King George. Thanks so much for coming along, guys. You all take care, and we got another box all lined up, so we will do box 3 next.